I opened my back door and froze because there was a brand new guest house framing up in my yard like it had been there the whole time. The woman in charge of our homeowners association stood beside it, clipboard in hand, and told me to stay off her property. 2 months later, a judge looked her dead in the eyes and stripped her of everything she built. And the silence in that courtroom felt louder than the nail guns ever did. It started the way these things always start: quiet rules, tidy lawns, a neighborhood that looks like a brochure. Cedar Ridge Estates had the kind of streets where people wave with one hand and judge with the other, and the HOA loved it that way. I'm Ryan Carter, mid-30s, not dramatic by nature, the kind of guy who pays his dues early just so nobody can email me about it. That year, I was barely holding my life together because my mom, Linda, was getting sicker fast and normal, became doctor visits, pharmacy runs, and nights listening for her breathing. So when the HOA president showed up with a little box of cookies and a too bright smile, I honestly thought she was being decent. Her name was Cheryl Whitman, perfect hair, perfect teeth, and a voice that could turn hello into a warning. "Ryan, I'm so sorry to hear about your mother," she said, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. Then her eyes flicked past me over my shoulder toward the tree line behind my house, and she asked, real casual, "Do you know exactly where your property line is?" That question should have landed like a brick, but I was tired, distracted, and still trying to believe people meant well. I shrugged and said I had the survey from when I bought the place, and she nodded like she'd just confirmed something. A week later, the letters started. Violation notice for my trash can being visible for an extra hour, violation notice for weeds near the fence, violation notice for my driveway having oil staining, which, sure, I own a car, congratulations on noticing. The fines weren't huge at first, but they came fast, and they came with that tone, polite on paper, sharp underneath. I emailed the HOA explaining my mom's condition, asking for a little grace, and Cheryl replied within 10 minutes, "Rules are rules. Consistency protects property values." Consistency. That word became her favorite weapon. Then I got a notice about a boundary clarification the board had approved based on a recent survey update. I remember reading it twice because it felt like the sentence kept changing, like it was trying to tell me my backyard wasn't actually mine anymore. When I asked to see the survey, Cheryl told me the documents were available upon request and then somehow never available. Every time I pushed, she pushed back harder, not yelling, not swearing, just that cold Karen-style confidence that says I run this place and you're just visiting. The worst part is I didn't even have the energy to fight at first. My mom passed a few weeks later, and grief doesn't make you brave, it makes you slow. After the funeral, I went out back because I needed air, and I heard the sound hammering, sawing men shouting measurements. I walked through the grass still in a black shirt that smelled like church air conditioning, and I saw a construction crew behind my trees, building something big. Not a shed, not a small guest house. A full-on structure with a foundation-framed walls and a roofline that looked suspiciously expensive. I marched right up to the temporary fence and shouted, "Hey, what is this?" One of the workers glanced at me like I'd just asked why the sky was blue and said, "We've got permits, man." Permits. That word hit different when the building was sitting where my kids would have played, if I had kids, if life had gone the way people assume it does. I went straight to Cheryl's house because, of course, the HOA president lives in the biggest, most aggressively decorated home on the block. She opened the door holding a folder with color-coded tabs like she was waiting for me. "Ryan," she said, soft and sweet, "this is not the time." "Oh, it's the time," I snapped. "Why is there a house in my backyard?" She didn't blink. She just tilted her head and said, "According to the updated survey, that section isn't yours. There's been a discrepancy for years." Discrepancy, another favorite word. I told her I had my closing documents, my original survey, and a metal stake marker I'd seen with my own eyes when I moved in. Cheryl sighed like I was exhausting her, then slid a thin packet toward me like she was doing me a favor. Inside was a settlement offer, $15,000, if I signed away the strip of land and agreed not to interfere with the project. I actually laughed because it was so insulting it almost felt like a prank. "This is hush money," I said. "It's goodwill," she corrected, and her smile tightened. "And if you keep causing problems, the HOA can place a lien for unpaid fines. We have legal counsel. Don't trespass on my property." That's when my chest got hot. Not rage, not even fear, something worse. That helpless, sinking feeling when someone says something completely outrageous. and they say it like it's already been approved. That night I sat at my kitchen table with my mom's medical bills stacked next to HOA fine notices, and I did the math. Not dramatic math, real math, the kind that decides whether you can afford groceries next week. Lawyers cost money, surveys cost money, time costs money, and grief steals it. And yeah, there was a moment, one ugly, quiet moment where I stared at that settlement packet and thought, what if I'm missing something? Not some poetic self-doubt, just a cold practicality. Like, did I actually check every page when I bought this place, or did I assume the line was where everyone said it was? Then I pictured Cheryl standing on my dirt telling me to stay back like I was the intruder, and whatever softness was left in me, it hardened. The next day, the pressure doubled. The HOA sent a notice warning me not to harass residents, and Cheryl posted in the community group that I was emotionally unstable due to a recent loss and that she hoped we could support one another with compassion. Compassion, coming from the woman trying to steal my land. I started knocking on doors. Not to rally a mob, not to make speeches, just to ask simple questions. Have you ever seen the property stakes? Has anyone heard about a survey update? Did anyone vote on this? Most people looked away, mumbled something about not wanting trouble, and shut their doors gently, like I might stain the porch. But Susan Blake, an older neighbor with tired eyes and a nurse's backbone, invited me inside. She poured coffee, then pulled out a folder of her own. I keep everything, she said, certified letters, meeting notices. And Ryan, I never saw a proper notice about this boundary thing, not the way they're supposed to do it. That was the first crack in Cheryl's perfect little wall. Then the second crack showed up in my inbox at 11:47 p.m. A message from Tyler Dalton, the teenage son of one of the contractors. It was short and it made my stomach flip. Mr. Carter, I don't think this is right. I have drone footage. They moved the survey marker. I met Tyler at the edge of the park the next day, and he handed me a thumb drive like it was contraband. When I played the video, I watched a worker in a hard hat yank a metal stake out of the ground and plant it a few feet over. No magic, no mystery, just theft with a tape measure. That's when I called Daniel Price, a property attorney with a voice like sandpaper and a reputation for not being impressed. He watched the footage once and said, if they were confident, they wouldn't be sloppy. Don't sign anything. We're filing today. The legal fight didn't feel heroic. It felt like paperwork deadlines and sleepless nights, and Cheryl kept trying to bait me into losing my temper. Her attorney sent letters warning me about tortious interference. The HOA threatened more fines. Cheryl even tried for an emergency order to keep me away from the disputed area, claiming job site safety. Which is hilarious because apparently it was safe enough for her to build a mini mansion there. The day we walked into court, Cheryl wore a white blazer like she was starring in her own daytime drama. She sat tall, chin up, whispering to her lawyer like she was giving instructions, not facing consequences. Judge Elaine Harper came in, glanced at the filings, and asked one question that made Cheryl's smile wobble. Why was the original survey ignored, and why wasn't the homeowner given clear notice before construction began? Cheryl tried to answer like she was addressing a board meeting. She said discrepancy, she said community benefit, she said goodwill offer, and she said it all with that calm, practiced tone. Daniel didn't argue feelings. He argued facts. He showed the judge the HOA records, the approvals Cheryl had signed, the mismatch between the submitted plans and the structure actually being built. Then he played Tyler's drone video, and you could feel the air change, like everyone in the room realized this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a strategy. Judge Harper ordered an independent survey, court-appointed neutral, no Cheryl spin. A week later, the report came back, and it was brutal. The structure was on my land, not a little, a lot. Cheryl's lawyer tried to talk about equitable solutions, which is attorney language for, please don't ruin my client. Judge Harper didn't bite. She ruled that Cheryl had knowingly trespassed, used her position in the homeowners association to fast-track approvals, and attempted to pressure me into signing away my property. Then she did the thing Cheryl clearly never imagined would happen to her. She stripped Cheryl of the build, not pay him damages and keep the house, not split the land. She ordered that the structure be forfeited as part of the judgment, and Cheryl's face went from polished to panicked in half a second. Cheryl stood up, eyes wide, and finally dropped the sweet voice. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're empowering a bitter man to destroy our community." Judge Harper didn't raise her voice. She just said, "Ma'am, sit down. You destroyed your own credibility." Cheryl started talking over the judge, the full Karen meltdown, loud, outraged, shocked that rules could apply to her. The bailiff stepped forward and Cheryl's words turned into stutters, because power hits different when it's not yours. And right there in that moment, while she was being told to leave while her lawyer stared at the table like he wanted to disappear, I felt something shift back into place. Not joy, not victory, just control returning to the person it was taken from. Because the truth is simple. If someone needs a homeowners association to steal your land, they were never the rightful owner of anything.